Hi, Whitney.
Welcome to the podcast where we acknowledge that the ways we are working really aren't working anymore.
We invite you into conversations with thought leaders, coaches, and industry experts to explore strategies for living with more ease and less grind, more flow and less fight. Welcome to Untrained.
Hi, Iris.
Hi, Whitney.
Welcome to season 2 of Untrained. We have a little upgrade this season. This season, we're going to start every episode with the tool that we want to offer you. So we want to help you untrain something specific and then retrain with some new tools and strategies. So the topic today is we want to take that operating system that says you should go it alone, you should always be the expert, you should dig deep and find all the motivation yourself. We want to take that out and give you a new strategy that says you can resource yourself. You can have mentors. You can have a dream team, a tribe, a network. And that's going to make you better in your profession. That's going to make you a happier human. And we have an expert here who's going to join us and give us some of the world's best tools and strategies for how we can find those mentors and put those people in our network. Iris?
Hi, I want to welcome Dr. Ruth Gotian. I think I got it right. Did I get it right?
Hi, Ruth.
You did. And we know each other so long. That's so happy.
I know. I think I get that last name wrong every time. But I do want to do a little bit of a spiel for you because you've got a lot in your background. So I want to make sure, and I've got it here.
I get a spiel.
I have a spiel about you, and I want to do it.
It's better than a eulogy.
Yes. No, well, it's just, you've done so many things. We met when you first interviewed me for a Forbes article, which was super fun. And then for your book, The Success Factor, about peak performance. And we're going to get into that. But I like to do my spiel. So I wrote it out. So I want to make sure I get a chance to do it. So Dr. Ruth Gotian, a well-known expert in the field of education, leadership, and success. She's the Chief Learning Officer at Weill Cornell Medicine and a frequent contributor to Harvard Business Review, Forbes, and Psychology Today. She's won numerous mentoring awards, which is why we're having this conversation today, and is the author of The Success Factor, Developing the Mindset and Skillset for Peak Performance. Hello.
Hello. Greetings from New York City.
How is it there? Warm, cold?
Humid. Yeah, we have torrential downpours. Oh. So, the curls were, lots of product today. We're all good.
Makings of a bad hair day for sure in Boston too.
So we're untraining today. One of the things that I work a lot with my clients on, high performers often feel like success centers around, I've got to do everything on my own. I've got to make this happen. And we're trying to train a new mindset. One of the things that you talk about a lot is mentorship. And I'd love for you to talk about how you got to this point of mentorship being something really important to you and actually defining what mentorship means. So there's a lot there to that question.
All right. Well, how did it start? I was 43 when I decided to go back to school and get my doctorate. And I was studying extreme high achievers. It started with physician scientists, those Nobel Prize winners, and escalated to astronauts and Olympians and NBA champions, et cetera. And there were several common threads I found in all of them. But one of them that I found is that they all surrounded themselves with a team of mentors who they could learn from. And these were people who were senior to them, at their level, junior to them, but they were always open to learning more. And they realized that there was somebody who could help guide them and tell them about those hurdles they may not know about, those barriers, those people, those policies, those just stuff that can get in your way and how to make it easier. So I figured if astronauts and Olympians can have them, why shouldn't the rest of us? So that's why I went out, wrote the book, The Success Factor, and chatting with my friends here.
How did you, how was it for you, just specifically for you? Were you before like just doing it on your own, trying to go on your own? And then when you went back to school, how did you think, okay, I want this group of people? Or how did you go about doing that? How did that shift happen for you?
6 words changed my life. And it was my mentor. I knew I was going back to school, and I knew I was going to study physician scientists because I had been working for 2 decades with that group. And I thought I was going to compare successful and unsuccessful within one institution. And my mentor, Dr. Bert Shapiro, said, do something important, not just interesting. 6 words. And those 6 words changed everything, because it went from taking my research from an institutional study to a national study. And what is so fascinating when I ask all high achievers how they've become successful and how they have had that ripple effect, they have all said the same thing to me. You know, I asked Dr. Tony Fauci before COVID, I asked him, how do you pick which projects to work on? There's no shortage of infectious diseases. He said, I pick something that's important, not just interesting. And that's how you can help millions of people. And those were the words by my mentor. He didn't tell me what to do. He didn't tell me how to do it, but he was my guide, and he gave me that push. And that's what I needed. And I think that's what most people need.
What feels important about this topic versus just interesting?
I think to me, it's very important, because if we want to be more innovative, if we want to be more successful, we need to have the tools to do so. But we've always been focused on the low achievers. They're the ones who get all of our attention. They're the ones who get all the resources. They're the ones who get sent to courses and workshops to improve their skills. But high achievers sort of left to fend for themselves. And the research shows that the high achievers are 400% more productive than an average employee. So while everyone was looking at those who were leaving the workforce, I said, I think we're looking at the wrong end of this problem. I don't care about those, and not that I don't care. I am less interested in those who are leaving. I am more interested in those who are staying and have the possibility to do exceptional work. Because if we can make more of those people, we'll more than make up for those who are leaving. That's why I think it's important.
I'm getting like flashes of my clients who are high achievers feeling sometimes they're kind of left to their own devices. They're like, oh, you know, she's got it. No problem. We'll just check up on her every once in a while and she'll be doing
Give her
fine.
more work. She can handle it. She's proven it.
So the reward for good work is more work, right?
Yes.
More is always more. So what do you think if you were to give advice to someone who has a high achiever in their group? Let's say I'm managing a high achiever. And how can I be a mentor? How can I help them build a mentorship group? How can I help resource them instead of just say, oh, she's got it. No problem. I'll just check up on her. She can just run with it.
Well, I'd love to before you even get there, I would say, do you find, or have you found in the conversations, because we found that there was a resistance, right? That people felt they should do it alone. So what helps people get over that strategy or be willing to try a different strategy? How do you untrain that I should do it all by myself? Because we encounter that a lot with our clients.
I think the reason that you've been hearing that is because that is the way they've been trained their whole life. I don't think that's what they want. I think it's all they know. Right? It's never even been offered to them. So if you have somebody, if you are managing somebody who is a high potential or a high achiever, if you just approach them and say, what is missing in your gap of knowledge? If you could learn anything to make your life easier, what would that be? Is it a new computer language? Is it a new operating way of operating? Is it a new software? What is it that you wish that you could learn? And then they'll tell you. And then you'll say, well, is there a conference or a course or a webinar or something where you can actually participate in that? I'd like to send you. This is not costing $1 million. This is a rounding error in your budget, not even. And if you can send them, now you've shown them that you are interested in them and in their potential. Tell me how it's working. What did you like about it, right? You want them to come back with that. What else do you think that we should do? Now put them together with other people and watch the magic happen. When there are other people like that, now you've created a culture where high achievement is the bar of excellence. That is what you want. And you really want that because these high achievers, who do you think their friends are? Other high achievers. So now you don't have to recruit so hard if they are able to start bringing their friends over. Well, now you've created a bigger and bigger circle of high achievers. And you keep asking them, what more do you want to learn? Not what do you need? They don't need another box of paper clips. What do you want to learn, right? Where is the gap? Something you want to get better at. Let's find a way to help you get that. And you don't want to, nobody likes to be micromanaged, but especially high achievers, right? Don't worry if they're coming in at 9. Don't worry if they drop their pen at 5. They will get the job done. Just give them a framework and let them go. And you'll see the magic happen.
Ruth, you used one of my favorite words, magic. So in this context, what is the magic that comes out of this new strategy? What's magical about it?
This is where you see them starting to think differently. You see curiosity as a positive trait. It's not annoying. You want them to be curious. You want them to ask questions. You want them to have those water cooler conversations. They're not gossiping. They're trying to find better ways of doing things because you're creating these hubs of curiosity.
Ooh,
and when you
I love
have
that word,
you like
that's
hubs
great.
of curiosity?
Hubs of curiosity. And I'm going to ask you how we do that online too.
Yeah, you can. And then you start to see things get more innovative because what if we try this? And what if we try that? And what if we try this other things? And not everything's going to succeed, but these high achievers know that these failures are just part of that road to success. I know Iris and I had a million conversations about this, right? Because, and this is what you also do as coaches, these fine tuning, right, can mean the difference between doing exceptional work and average work, right? Sometimes it's this little fine tuning. So you want to be able to do that with them as well. It's fun.
So what if we leads to magic and we can't get to the we or the magic alone often?
Never alone.
Never.
Because when you're curious, right? Look, some people learn on their own, right? They have an idea, they want to read up on it, and then they want to come back to you. And that's great. Right. And there's a lot of parallel play going on. Right. So let's say, Whitney, you're going to read up on something, and Iris, you're going to look something up and go down that rabbit hole. And I don't do things in isolation. I'm an extrovert, so I need to talk to a bunch of people. But then we can all get together and say, well, this is what I found out. And this is what I found out. And this is what I found out. And then we start seeing that Venn diagram where it overlaps and what is missing in our thinking. It's when we put those ideas together. And I'm going to use your favorite word again. We put those ideas together is when magic happens.
I'm just thinking of myself as an athlete and coaches that really pushed me. And I think it's the ones, because I'm also thinking like, where do managers go wrong with high performers as well? I think one is when you said take their curiosity as something that's very positive. I think when I worked with coaches that didn't take my questions as questioning them, right? Like I'm questioning what they know or any of that I'm just questioning. I'm curious. I want to push further. And that coach also didn't need to feel like they needed to be the smartest person in order to coach me, right? So they just needed to be there for me and then just kind of give me little tidbits whenever I needed them. I didn't even have coaches sometimes that were super high level coaches. Some of them were just my teammates coaching me. And I was very clear, like, I'm going to ask a bunch of questions, but it's not because I'm questioning your knowledge. It's just, I'm curious. What are you seeing? How can you help me get better? What are you seeing from the outside? What are you observing? So I think sometimes we can take these high performers and look at how they act as like, so I'm going to use this. If you're looking through the lens of not enoughness and you're coaching someone who's a high performer, you may get your ego right. Like, oh, I got to be the smartest person, or they're asking me all these questions. They might think that I'm not smart enough, or they're pushing me too hard and I'm not good enough, or I feel overwhelmed or vulnerable. Right. And what the high performer is really asking you to do is to be in a lens of abundance and they're asking you to come on the trip with them. I don't want you to be smarter than me. I need you to observe, and we're going to do this together. I think when I found coaches that really, and leaders that really did it with me together, and they're willing to get humble with me, vulnerable with me, we could do some magical things. But I'm just thinking of like myself. I was like, wait, I'm a high performer. I perform. That's how I feel about that.
It's so true. Because, sometimes you're so deep inside the jar, you can't read the label. Yes. And you need someone to tell you what's on that label, what it is that they are seeing, right? And there's so many parts of that. And it could be a coach, but it could be a peer, right? So often we discount our peers, but they can share something that we are not even aware of.
Yeah. So I'd love to go now, bring Iris's question back. So we're a high performer. We're like, I've been going it alone. Now I realize Ruth has shown me the light. I shouldn't do it that way. Okay. I want to build a tribe. I want to build a network. How do I figure out who I need in that tribe? And then how do I go about doing it?
So the first thing is never, ever, 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 ever ask somebody to be your mentor. Because when you're asking them to be your mentor, you're asking them to take on another obligation. I don't know about you. I don't have any available bandwidth, right? But when somebody asks for your help with something very, very specific that you have expertise in, right? And they know you have expertise in, right? If Iris came up to me and said, Ruth, can I talk to you for 15 minutes about high performers or success or mentoring? Of course, I'm going to have time, right? Because this I know a lot about. If she asked me a very pointed question, I'm working on something, I'm struggling on this one area, I just want to talk it out with you to see what it is I'm missing. We have context. It's not, can you help me with my career? Like, where do I start with that? Right? It has to be something very, very specific. Now, how do you go about finding these people? I want you to have 3 levels of people. I want you to have people who are senior to you. I want you to have people who are at your level. And I want people who are junior to you. Everyone needs to start creating what's called a mentoring team, right? Because not one person can give us everything that we need, right? So there are people in our family who can help us. There are people who we work with. There are people who are our idols that we look up to, that we will eventually get closer and closer to. There's so many ways that this can be done. And I'm going to give you a website where everyone can download a worksheet. So just hold on to that. But how do you meet these people? These are people that you connect with. You have this instant connection. Don't worry about their expertise so much. Work on that connection. And I think, and all the research has shown, that organic connections are much better than matches. So you can meet people when you hear somebody speak. You can hear somebody when they're in the audience virtually. Don't tell me that you can't meet mentors because it's virtual. That chat is a gold mine, an absolute gold mine, as is social media such as LinkedIn. Somebody makes a comment that really intrigues you, really gets you thinking. Engage with those comments, right? If I'm giving a keynote and Whitney makes a comment and Iris really likes that comment, Iris should reach out to Whitney and say, I loved what you said about blah, blah, blah. It got me thinking about blah, 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 right? Not just, I love what you said, right? So there's ways to actually engage in conversation with people. And then when the time is right, you can start asking for help. But before you ever ask for help, I want you to offer help. Mm-hmm. And I don't care how junior you are. There's always something you can do to help somebody else. I am helping a Nobel Prize winner with something. I am never going to be a Nobel Prize winner, right? But there's something that I can do to help them. All right. So I'm hoping listeners are going to listen to two websites that I'm going to give them that might help them. The first one is to construct a mentoring team with those layers of people that I talked about, those who are senior to you, at your level, and junior to you. I put on my website for everyone, ruthgotian.com/mentoring team. There's a worksheet there. You can use that. And if you have trouble starting conversations with strangers, it's not so hard. Right? I actually used an example that Iris had once in our conversation many, many years ago with her big blue glasses, which she had at that time, as a conversation starter. So you can go to my 13 favorite conversation starters, ruthgotian.com/conversation. And then I'll kick off conversations with strangers.
I don't even remember what I said.
Oh, but you remember the blue glasses.
We right away started talking about your big blue glasses. And before we even got to whatever our conversation was, I think I was interviewing you for Forbes. And we established that connection. By the time I interviewed you for Forbes, it's like we were old friends. And it was a conversation over blue glasses, which I now own.
Hashtag blue glasses as a networking strategy.
There you go.
Ruth, I wanted to double click on something you said. Make sure you offer something, even if they're your idol or someone senior to you. And I was wondering if we could just explore a little bit around this, because that might be intimidating to some people, but there's a lot of ways we can offer. We can say, oh, I found an article related to our conversation or this Instagram post, or
that's right.
Maybe you could give us some other ideas of what we can offer.
Absolutely. A Nobel Prize winner who has become a dear friend and a mentor, he came out with his own book, an autobiography, and he knows science better than I will ever know science. He has no idea how to market a book at all. Well, I know how to market a book. My book was a bestseller. So I said, let me help you. So I started telling him and sharing with him opportunities and prepare him for those opportunities. And he soaked it all in, right? High achievers love to learn new things, right? But that was a whole new world for him that he didn't even know existed. And here I am, a generation younger than him, right? So if you are even 2 generations younger, you can help almost anyone with social media, right? Social media is constantly changing. Algorithms are always changing. There is always something that you can do to help, especially if you are more junior. If you have somebody who you really, really look up to, start talking about their work.
Yeah.
Start amplifying their work. Because if you're amplifying it throws a good fire on it. They don't need to do that humble brag, which is always so awkward, right? And you have now shared your entire network with their work. They've now seen it. So trust me, they are going to start noticing that. So those are just 2 very quick and easy ways.
I'll offer some Olympian encouragement. That's a very strategic way. And for me, the mindset is, if you're going to get something, or if you're really going to go for something, you're going to have to get vulnerable and you're going to have to try. And I'll just bring in, we had Henna Pryor on before, crossing the cringe chasm, but you can do it in small ways. And so Ruth is offering like really small risks that you can start to cross the cringe chasm, to start to talk to people. I also like the fact that you talked about, like, it doesn't have to have formality, and that formality, who has the time? So just what we're actually doing is just building connections and networking with people.
That's right. Exactly right. Because, people like to work with those who they know, like, and trust. And when people know, like, and trust each other, almost anything one person asks of another, the answer will be yes. Right? Yeah. So if you are able to establish that connection, I know anytime I ask Iris and now you, Whitney, for a quote, I know the answer will always be yes. And I know when Iris asked me to be a guest on Pocket, of course the answer was going to be yes, right? Because people like to help those who they know, like, and trust. And it's bidirectional.
I know this isn't the path of, we'll go down this path first. I'm thinking about, if you want to be a mentee and you actually want to give back. I do know quite a few of my clients who are at an age and at a stage in their career, they actually do want to give back and they want to start helping others. How does one start to do that? How can I, as someone who's interested in being a mentor, go out there and start telling people, hey, I'm happy to be your mentor, or I'm happy to help? How does one start to do that?
Yeah, please don't do that.
Hey, hi guys, I'm out here. No, but I do have some clients who just don't know, they want to help others, but they're not sure, where do I begin?
It's kind of creepy, right? To just say that, or especially if you're going to do it with children. So first of all, what you're talking about is called generativity. which really talks about paying it forward. It's part of our legacy, and there are different ways that can be done. And I think, first of all, if you ever want to help someone and you're not sure where to go, find a nonprofit, because pick your favorite nonprofit. There will always be looking for volunteers who can help. And once you're able to start doing that, you're going to start expanding your reach of people who you can help. And trust me, there's a nonprofit for just about everything these days. So whatever your expertise is that you want to start helping, go reach out to them. And I am sure if you establish a connection where they know, like, and trust you, they'll find a way for you to help.
So Ruth, what else do you want our listeners to know about building the network, getting more mentors?
So I think this is something that's an ongoing process, right? So if you do find a mentor and it's not the right fit for you, it's not a life sentence, not for you and not for them. There is an exit ramp. If it doesn't work out, they don't have to be your mentor forever. And remember, you're going to have a mentoring team. So if one sours, you still have others. But I also want you to realize that if someone was a mentor for you up until a certain point, you might be at a different place in your life, and they might not be appropriate as a mentor then, even though you're still very close to them. I'll give you a perfect example. When I was getting my doctorate, my doctoral advisor, who was my mentor, Dr. Marie Volpe, I have a very long commute to work. We spoke on the phone every single day. She looked at what I wrote the night before that I emailed her. She critiqued it. Think red pen everywhere. She critiqued it. She made it better. She made it stronger. My biggest advocate and my biggest healthy critic, right, to make it better. After I defended, we were still regularly in touch, but now I am at a very, very different place. I am not writing a dissertation, thank God. Been there, done that. I don't talk to her every single day. We probably now talk about once a quarter, and it's more of a catch-up kind of conversation. But I still do reach out to her. So, for example, when I wrote the book proposal for The Success Factor, I actually showed her the book proposal because she had written multiple books in the past. And she knew what a book proposal was going to be like, a successful one. I wanted to be successful at it. And she critiqued it for me the way she critiqued my dissertation. And that's what made it so great and got accepted right away, right? So I don't show her every manuscript that I write anymore, every article. She's, 87, 88, and she's still mentoring people now. So she is great for a certain kind of person at a certain time in their lives. I am at a different place, and now she's a dear, dear friend.
Yes, people can slide from the mentor to the friend category, which is nice. One of the things I talk about is the discipline of your network. You have to nurture it. As you said, things change. Someone might be an ideal mentor and then they're not anymore. So what are your recommendations for nurturing your network as a discipline?
Look, I think there has to be communication. If you want them to be your mentor, if they give you guidance, you have to let them know what you've done with that guidance. You used it, great. Here's the outcome. You didn't use it, that's fine. You're your own person. You can make your own decision. But here's why, right? Here's why you decided to go in a different direction. Don't just ghost them, right? You want to keep in touch. You want to let them know what's going on with you. And I think doing that is going to be very helpful. I think also letting them know what you want to talk about in advance will help them prepare. Because you don't want to just walk in and say, all right, we're going to talk about my career. Well, again, what exactly are we going to talk about, right? There has to be very, very specific things so you don't start going on a million tangents, right? You want it to be more concrete. I think doing things like that is going to be very helpful. Look, some people have mentoring contracts. I'm not a fan of them. People have different ideas about them. But I think you have to go in prepared. And I think the communication is critical. And that is where most people fall short. Now, I do want to talk about when your mentor becomes a tormentor, when they are just no good anymore. Maybe they are taking your ideas as their own.
Ooh.
Maybe they are, you ask them for feedback about something and then you never hear back from them. There's so many ways that a mentor can turn into a tormentor. And bad mentorship is worse than no mentorship. Because when people get bad mentorship, they may not want to go back and find a mentor again. And that's really bad because there is endless research that shows that those who are mentored out-earn and outperform those who are not. So we want people to have mentors. We want them to have really good mentors. So if they have a bad mentor, a tormentor, get out. Just get out, especially if it can't be fixed. Work with the other mentors to help you do that.
If I have a pretty specific question, if I have a direct report and I'm helping them choose mentors or networking or helping them, opening up my network to help them, do I specifically have them be mentored by someone within the organization, or can I open it up to other people that I know? Because I know that's actually a question some of my clients have is, can I ask my boss, they're looking to network me, can I ask them for outside of the organization mentorship?
Yeah. And I think you should frame it as, do you know who can help me with X, right? It has to be specific. There needs to be some context. And I think it's important to get people who are outside the organization as well, because otherwise you're in an echo chamber. You're going to be hearing the same kind of things. We were talking about you're so deep inside the jar, you can't read the label.
Right.
Same thing. Every organization has its own culture. And I want you to be careful about also your boss being your mentor. Has pluses and minuses, right? It's great. That's why they hopefully went into the role. They want to mentor, give back, right? Just what we talked about, the generativity. But what happens if you get promoted? You leave. Now they have to replace you until they find someone. Maybe they need to pick up the slack, right? It's extra work for them. So it's a double-edged sword when your boss is your mentor. So just be aware of that.
So, Ruth, I'm seeing that best-selling book behind you. And before I ask you to tell us a little bit more about it, and if we like what we hear, what we can get from it, anything else you want people to know on this topic of mentoring?
I think you are never too old to have a mentor, and you are never too young to be a mentor. And I think you should always have a mentor and be mentored. I don't care where you are in the hierarchy, because all the research has shown over and over and over again that when you do both and you do it successfully, you succeed more.
I just want to ask one more question.
Is
how do you, after all of this research and thought, define mentorship?
I think the mentor is someone who believes in you more than you believe in yourself, and gives you the courage and the wind beneath your wings to make it happen.
Can we mic drop? Mic drop.
Snap, snap, snap.
I love that, because that is a retraining too, Whitney and Ruth, because I do think that there's this sort of formality. When I think mentorship, I think like there's a formal mentorship and then we have this group and then a leadership group and we've got to mentor them. But you're talking about something that is on a whole nother energy plane that, for me, as someone who is an Olympian, that is why I'm an Olympian. Because someone said, I look at her, she doesn't know it, but she's got this. And I know she's got even more. And I'm going to work with her on getting there. So I love that definition. Mic drop, mic drop. Do we have
Mic
that
drop.
sound
And
effect? We need it.
You want those friendtors in your life too.
Somebody read my Forbes article about it. Yes.
I sent it to Whitney and told her she's my friend tour. We'll have to link the Forbes article on the friendship as well.
That went viral. That's a story that was in the book. And then it was on Forbes. It's a story of the dean of Wharton, the business school at the University of Pennsylvania, and the president of Simmons University. Lynn Wooten, how they met as grad students, and now one's a president and one's a dean, best friends, and they're each other's peer mentors. And actually, the dean of Wharton used that in her welcome speech to the new Wharton students.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, that's awesome. Well,
grab that book. Grab that book behind you and tell us about it.
Oh,
yeah, this is the best part about having a YouTube channel too and visuals, that we have this book that she's raising up, The Success Factor, Developing the Mindset and Skillset for Peak Business Performance.
this is all the research, but it's actually it's all about application, right? I could talk about adult learning theory and I could talk about research all day long, but very few people want to geek out with me about it. Most people want to know how they can apply it immediately. And that's what this is all about. It's first, I tell you about what I found interviewing hundreds of people, including Iris, and she's in the book. And then it's all about how to apply it. And I think that's the key part. And that's why I love when people send me pictures of the book, The Success Factor, all tabbed out and highlighted and Post-it notes everywhere, because then I know they're really learning. And to me, that's the best part.
And then you want to mentor them, right?
Well, I personally, for my clients, have used your website. So we'll make sure we get the link. I've used your website, people looking for mentors, because you have some good online, because on the book it says online resources. You do have quite a few of those, and they're very, very easy to apply. So if there are coaches out there that are listening to it, it's a really good resource for your clients too, et cetera, et cetera. But I did want to ask one question that I've wanted to ask you since you get the book out. What are one or two things that surprised you when you did your research? Like just, that's interesting.
All right. I'll tell you one fun thing and one which made my brain kind of explode. So I interviewed a lot of Olympians from all over the world in countless sports. And what fascinated me was that only of those who won medals, only 2 of them had them on display. And I thought that was unusual, because if I got an Olympic medal, I'd wear it to the supermarket, right? Everybody would know I got an Olympic medal. But no, it's, in the nightstand drawer, it's in a box under the bed, it's in a safe, usually at the parents' house or the grandparents' house. Scott Hamilton, the figure skater, gave all of his medals away. He said it was just too suffocating. And the funniest was Apollo Ono, who had it. He's the most decorated Winter Olympian. He has his 8 medals in a brown paper bag in his sock drawer. I thought that was kind of hysterical. And that really surprised me. Except what they said, and I think that you would agree with me, is that the getting to the Olympics, that's a chapter in their lives, not the entire story. There's a whole story, and the medal is nice. It's great, but it's not the whole story. And that's why it's not on display. And the more I thought about it, the more it made sense to me, because that was just a launching pad, right? For all the great things that happen afterwards. I don't know of a single Nobel Prize winner who quit doing science just because they got the Nobel. It's a chapter in their lives, not the entire journey. So that was the funny thing. The thing that surprised me the most, I thought that once you get the Nobel Prize, once you reach the peak performance of whatever your field is, that's it, you're done. You've learned it all. Apparently not. These people are either going back to classes, signing up for webinars, going to lectures, learning from other people, reading nonstop. They're always hungry to learn more. I had not appreciated that going in. I thought it was the opposite.
Well, so Ruth, you've kind of talked about 2 things near and dear to the untrained heart. One is about sort of motivation and sustainability coming from within. And I think these examples really further demonstrate that it's not out there as we've been trained to think that it's out there. It's here. And the other thing is that we can't and shouldn't do it alone, because it's not magical. And the only way to get to our magic, more magic for the world, is to get curiosity hubs going and have mentors and mentees and all the things that we've been talking about today. I have loved being with you this morning. I am thrilled that this is kicking off season 2. And we have so many links now for people to look at. Iris, what else do you want to say?
No, I just wanted to say thank you. And it's just from what you said, it's about the process. And if you are a successful person, the accolades might look validating to other people on the outside, but that's not what validates your success. And we've talked about invisible victories is Whitney's coined term. And I think that the more and more that we talk to people about success, the invisible victories are really what matter, right? The book you read, or the article you read, the connection you made, those things really matter on your road and your journey and your process, rather than the actual outcomes. The outcomes are good and they are externally validating, but they're not everything. And it's really interesting that we'll end on that, because that's, I'm working on the external validation not being a big deal thing, and it's just nice to hear that again for season 2.
We that we do the work that we need ourselves, so we're going to digest this.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you. Oh, this was so fun.
Thanks. Well, what do we say at the end? And so this is the beginning of the first season. So what do we say at the end, Whitney?
Keep
on training.